Einstein once said, "Two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe." He was joking, but today we have the evidence to prove him right. Survival is a biological imperative. Your body is designed with millions of years of evolution specifically to keep you alive. It has reflexes, pain receptors, and fear. But for 12 special individuals, the desire to do something cool overrode 3 million years of survival instinct. Welcome to the deep end of the gene pool. Here are 12 times stupidity was fatal. Before we begin, a disclaimer. One, the unbreakable window. Let's start with a high-flying executive we'll call Gary. Gary was a senior partner at a law firm, a man of intelligence, wealth, and status. But Gary had a party trick. A trick he had performed dozens of times to impress the interns. His office was on the 24th floor of a downtown skyscraper. The building featured floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Whenever new clients visited, Gary would demonstrate the quality of the building's construction by running full speed across the room and body slamming the glass window. "It's unbreakable," he would shout, bouncing off the safety glass like a rubber ball. On this particular night, Gary had a group of law students in the boardroom. He wanted to show them who was boss. He loosened his tie, took a running start, and launched his 200-pound frame at the window at a speed of approximately 10 miles per hour. Here is the engineering lesson Gary missed. Tensile strength versus structural integrity. The glass was indeed unbreakable in the sense that it wouldn't shatter from a body impact. However, the frame holding this glass was made of aluminum and rubber gaskets. Over years of Gary slamming into it, the seal had weakened. Gary hit the glass. The glass didn't break, but the entire pane popped out of its frame. Gary, still pressed against the glass, sailed out into the night air. He fell 24 stories, roughly 300 feet. The fall took about 4.5 seconds. He was still holding his drink when he hit the courtyard below. The glass pane landed on top of him, finally shattering, just like his reputation for being the smartest man in the room. He proved the glass was strong, but he forgot to check the glue. 2. The lava lamp bomb. We all love lava lamps. They are groovy, slow, and relaxing. But for Philip, a 24-year-old in Washington, slow was the problem. Philip had just bought a vintage giant lava lamp. He plugged it in, but the wax was taking too long to melt. The light bulb at the base simply wasn't generating enough heat for his impatient mind. Philip looked at the lamp, then looked at his kitchen stove, and had a light bulb moment of his own, unfortunately, a dim one. "I'll just jump-start it on the stove," he thought. He placed the sealed glass bottle on an electric burner and turned the heat to high. Here is the physics. A lava lamp is a sealed pressure vessel. It contains water, wax, and air. When you heat liquids, they expand. When you heat gas, it expands even more. As the stove heated the lamp far beyond its design limits, the internal pressure skyrocketed. The glass bottle turned into a frag grenade. Philip stood right in front of the stove, watching the wax melt, waiting for the bubbles. At 11:42 p.m., the structural limit of the glass was reached. The lamp exploded. A shard of glass propelled by pressurized steam and boiling wax flew outward at the speed of a bullet. It pierced Philip's heart instantly. He wasn't just killed by the glass. The boiling hot wax coated the room, a psychedelic crime scene of impatience. He died, trying to relax. 3. The copper hunter. Copper theft is a common crime. It's quick money, but electricity defends its territory with the heat of the sun. Meet Sparky, a 30-year-old thief who found what he thought was the motherlode, an electrical substation behind an abandoned factory. He saw a thick cable, about 3 inches in diameter. "That's 50 pounds of copper right there," he likely thought. He climbed the fence, armed with a pair of heavy-duty bolt cutters. The cable was a main distribution line carrying 13,000 volts. Sparky knew enough to wear rubber gloves. He thought he was insulated. He was wrong. The moment the steel blades of the bolt cutters bit into the copper wire, he created a short circuit. This didn't just shock him. It created an arc flash. An arc flash is when electricity jumps through the air, ionizing it into plasma. The temperature of an arc flash can reach 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Sparky didn't get electrocuted. He was vaporized. The copper in the wire instantly turned from solid to gas, expanding 67,000 times in volume. This created a pressure wave, an explosion, that threw his body 20 feet backward. The bolt cutters were found welded together. Sparky was found? Well, pieces of Sparky were found. He wanted the copper, but he got the lightning instead. 4. The magnetic missile. Hospitals are places of healing, but they also house the strongest magnets on Earth. The MRI machine. Magnetic resonance imaging. These machines are always on. The magnet never sleeps. Enter Michael, a visitor who was helping his elderly aunt get a scan. Michael was a helpful guy. He saw that the technician had left the room for a moment, and his aunt complained that her oxygen was running low. Michael spotted a portable oxygen cylinder in the hallway, a steel tank about 2 feet tall. "I'll just bring this in for her," Michael decided. He ignored the sign on the door that said, "Warning, powerful magnet, no ferromagnetic objects." Michael walked into the room carrying the steel tank. The MRI magnet pulls with a force of 3.0 Tesla. To put that in perspective, it is strong enough to lift a car. The moment Michael crossed the threshold, the oxygen tank stopped being a medical device and became a missile. The tank was ripped from his hands, accelerating from 0 to 40 miles per hour in a fraction of a second. It flew horizontally across the room, straight into the center of the MRI machine, the bore, where the magnet is strongest. Michael was standing in the path. The tank struck him in the skull, crushing it instantly against the machine. The machine was destroyed. The magnetic field was quenched, and Michael became a cautionary tale about why you always read the signs. Gravity pulls down, magnets pull hard. 5. The gender reveal bomb. Gender reveal parties have gone from cutting a cake to detonating tactical nukes. Meet Brian, an excited father-to-be who wanted to reveal his baby's gender with a bang. Brian wasn't satisfied with store-bought confetti cannons. He wanted an earth-shattering kaboom. He bought a legal target explosive called tannerite. This substance is stable until you shoot it with a high-velocity rifle. The instructions say, use 1 pound. Brian used 80 pounds. The instructions say, stand 100 yards back. Brian stood 15 yards back. The instructions say, do not put inside a metal container. Brian packed it all into a steel pipe to make the blue smoke go higher. He had inadvertently built a massive pipe bomb. When his friend shot the target, the explosion was registered by earthquake sensors in the next county. It didn't just release blue powder, it shredded the metal pipe into thousands of pieces of supersonic shrapnel. A piece of the metal casing, the size of a dinner plate, flew through the air and struck Brian. He didn't even see the color of the smoke. He was killed instantly at his own celebration. The baby was a boy. The father was a memory. 6. The grain silo trap. Farming is dangerous work, but sometimes the danger looks like a peaceful pile of corn. This brings us to the grain trap. Ethan, a 19-year-old farmhand, noticed a crust had formed on top of the corn inside a massive silo. The grain wasn't flowing out of the bottom properly. "I'll just go in and break the crust with a shovel," Ethan thought. He climbed the ladder and stepped onto the surface of the corn. Here is the horror of grain silos. Grain acts like a fluid. It is quicksand. Ethan broke the crust. The corn beneath him gave way, flowing rapidly out of the funnel at the bottom of the silo. He sank to his knees instantly. He struggled, but struggling in grain creates a suction effect. He sank to his waist. He screamed for help, but the machinery was too loud. Within 60 seconds, he was buried up to his neck. The pressure of the grain against his chest was so intense that he couldn't expand his lungs to breathe. It's like being crushed by a concrete blanket. Ethan suffocated in a mountain of food. By the time rescuers cut a hole in the side of the silo to drain the corn, it was too late. He was drowned by the harvest. 7. The bungee cord math. Math is hard. But when you are bungee jumping, math is life. Let's talk about Eric, a thrill seeker who didn't want to pay for a professional bungee jump. He decided to rig his own off a 70-foot railway bridge. He went to the hardware store and bought 60 feet of heavy-duty bungee cord. The bridge is 70 feet, Eric reasoned. The cord is 60 feet. That gives me 10 feet of clearance. Perfect safety margin. Eric tied the cord to the railing, strapped it to his ankles, and jumped. Eric failed to account for elasticity. Bungee cords stretch. That is literally their entire purpose. A 60-foot bungee cord, under the weight of a 180-pound falling human, will stretch to approximately 1.5 to 2 times its resting length. Eric dropped 60 feet. The cord went taut, then it stretched to 90 feet. Unfortunately, the ground was only 70 feet away. Eric hit the rocky riverbed at roughly 40 miles per hour. He didn't bounce, he splattered. The cord worked perfectly. The calculator, however, was user error. 8. The trash chute slide. Laziness combined with bad ideas is a lethal cocktail. In a high-rise apartment complex, 20-year-old Sarah dropped her keys down the garbage chute. She opened the door on the 8th floor and looked down. She could see them, caught on a snag just a few feet down. I can reach them, she thought. She grabbed a broom, but it wasn't long enough. I'll just lean in a little. She leaned her torso into the metal chute. The chute is made of polished steel to ensure garbage slides down easily. It has a very low coefficient of friction. Sarah slipped. Gravity took over. She slid head first into the darkness. Here is the nightmare. Trash chutes are designed to get wider as they go down, but they often have compactors at the bottom. Sarah slid down 3 floors and got stuck at a bend. Because she was head first and her arms were pinned to her sides by the narrow tube, she couldn't push herself back up. She was trapped upside down in a dark-smelling steel tube. The blood rushed to her head, causing an aneurysm, while the pile of garbage below slowly suffocated her. She wasn't found for 12 hours. She died for a set of Toyota keys. 9. The oxygen smoker. Fire needs 3 things to burn: heat, fuel, and oxygen. If you increase the oxygen, you increase the violence of the fire. Meet Richard, a 60-year-old with emphysema. He required a nasal cannula, those plastic tubes in your nose, pumping pure oxygen 24/7. Richard was also a lifelong smoker, a habit he refused to break even while hooked up to life support. The doctors told him, do not smoke while wearing the oxygen. Richard thought, I'll just be careful. He sat in his recliner, turned up the oxygen flow, and flicked his lighter to ignite a cigarette. Atmospheric air is 21% oxygen. The air coming out of his tube was 100% oxygen. The flame from the lighter didn't just light the cigarette, it ignited the oxygen stream itself. The fire raced up the plastic tubing like a fuse, straight into his nose and down into his oxygen-saturated lungs. It wasn't a slow burn, it was a flash fire. Richard inhaled fire. His lungs were instantly scorched from the inside out. He stumbled into the hallway, collapsing. He had literally breathed dragon fire because he couldn't wait 5 minutes to take the tubes off. 10. The bulletproof vest test. Alcohol gives you the confidence of a superhero with the durability of a wet paper towel. Jason and his best friend Mark were drinking and showing off Jason's new purchase, a Kevlar bulletproof vest. It can stop a knife, Jason bragged. Stab me! Mark refused. No way, man. Don't be a wuss, it is Kevlar, Jason insisted. He put the vest on. After an hour of peer pressure and tequila, Mark finally agreed. He grabbed a kitchen steak knife. Jason puffed out his chest. Do it! Here is the problem. A vest protects the chest, but it doesn't cover everything. And stupidity has a bad aim. Mark lunged. His hand slipped. He missed the Kevlar plate by 2 inches. The blade went straight into Jason's heart, just above the protective rim of the vest. Jason looked down, surprised. You missed? He whispered before collapsing. He bled out in his own kitchen while his best friend tried to hold the wound closed. He bought the armor to feel safe, but he invited the danger right through the front door. 11. The truck surfer. There is a strange urge some people have to climb on moving heavy machinery. This is the story of Highway Harry. Harry was hitchhiking. He snuck onto the back of a semi-truck while it was stopped at a gas station, climbing into the gap between the cab and the trailer. He thought he could ride there, shielded from the wind, all the way to the next state. The truck pulled onto the highway, reaching speeds of 65 miles per hour. Harry was safe as long as the truck drove straight, but then the driver hit the brakes hard for a traffic jam. Physics lesson: inertia. The truck stopped. Harry, untethered, continued moving at 65 miles per hour. He slammed into the back of the steel cab. Then, as the truck accelerated again, Harry lost his footing on the wet metal. He slipped down into the gap, right onto the spinning drive shaft and the massive rear wheels. He was pulled into the machinery like a rag doll. The driver didn't even feel a bump. He drove for another 40 miles before stopping and discovering the gruesome remains of a free rider wrapped around the axle. Harry wanted a free ride. He paid the ultimate price. 12. The treasure hunter. Finally, let's talk about curiosity killing the cat and the human. Two brothers, Tom and Jerry, not their real names but fitting, found an abandoned mine shaft in the Nevada desert. They threw a rock down. They heard a splash. "There might be gold down there or old equipment," Tom said. Tom climbed down a rackety ladder. He got about 20 feet down and suddenly fell off the ladder, splashing into the water below. He didn't resurface. Jerry screamed. "Tom!" No answer. Jerry, being a loyal brother, climbed down to save him. He got to the same 20-foot mark, gasped, let go of the ladder, and fell in. What killed them? It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a monster. It was bad air. Over decades, rotting timber and geological processes absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. These heavy gases settle at the bottom of deep holes, displacing the breathable air. The mine shaft was an invisible bowl of suffocation. The moment Tom descended into the gas layer, he passed out instantly from lack of oxygen, anoxia. He was dead before he hit the water. Jerry climbed into the exact same trap. They are still down there, preserved in the dark, guarding a treasure that doesn't exist. 12 lives, 12 decisions, 0 survivors. The universe is a harsh teacher. It gives the test first and the lesson afterwards. These people didn't wake up thinking it was their last day on Earth. They just made one small, arrogant assumption that physics would cut them a break. Physics never cuts a break. So, the next time you have a great idea involving fire, electricity, height, or speed, pause for a second. Ask yourself, am I about to end up in a YouTube video like this one? Which of these deaths made you cringe the hardest? Was it the lava lamp? The bungee jump? Let me know in the comments. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next class of the Darwin Academy. Stay safe, stay smart, and don't touch the copper wire.